Just want someone on me because someone just told me that the best bars in town are closing down. Closing down.
Hi, thank you so much for joining me. I'm Jess, and with me today for a Moody Music interview is Luke Seymoup. Hi, how are you?
It's an absolute pleasure to be here. I'm going great. How are you?
I'm very good, thank you. Um, Now, Luke, you have been called Melbourne's busiest man in punk. For people who don't know you or know your music, how would you describe yourself to them?
Exactly that. Very prolific. My music is a mix of a punk and indie rock. I take influence from a lot of places. Like my favorite bands are like Alkaline Trio, Against Me, bands like that. But I love stuff like Crowded House and the Lemonheads as well. And I'm always putting out music, sometimes with my backing band, sometimes solo. But if I've got an idea that pops into my head, I've just got to record it and get it out there. When I'm not writing, I'm playing. When I'm not playing, I'm writing. So busiest man in punk. There you go.
I noticed that, um, like on your TikTok, you do a lot of like educational, helpful, like music theory videos to people. I just want to know a little bit about your background. So you studied music, was that right?
Yeah, that's absolutely right. My original plan with music was to be a saxophonist. You know, I grew up playing the saxophone in ska bands and in rock bands, and I was at university studying classical saxophone, if you can believe it. Life had other callings for me. I didn't end up working in that field of music or even that field of teaching, but I've got all this music theory knowledge packed away up here. And lately, I've just been wanting to share that because I think, you know, you don't need to know music theory to write punk rock, but it's useful to know what tools are in the toolbox. And if I'm building something and I don't know what tools I have, it's going to be a lot more difficult. So if I can just make music theory a bit more accessible to people so they don't have to go out and apply at a university or a TAFE or spend hours and hours trawling through YouTube videos, that's just great. And if I give a couple of people a little help in writing songs, that's absolutely wonderful.
Lovely, very nice, very helpful to everyone. You've just you've released a lot of singles these past few months. Some include Friends Fall Apart in September, which had like this country vibe to it. Early November, you released Knife, which has a hilarious music video to it, which I want to chat about in just a sec. But your latest release, Serengeti, which was released yesterday, I believe. Yes. Congratulations. Yesterday from when
Thank
this
you.
interview happened. Um, can you tell us a little bit about what Serengeti is about?
Serengeti is a bit mellow for me because I'm a very high energy person. I'm taking it back a lot on that song, and it's a song I wrote a few years ago when it felt like every music venue in Melbourne was shutting down. There were all these stories about, you know, this venue has been evicted by their landlord. This venue has had an apartment building go up next door and they're getting all these noise complaints, and we just lost venue after venue after venue. And live music was one of the first places I ever felt a sense of belonging. You know, I think most people who have been involved with punk rock or other kinds of alternative music have been sort of misfits their whole lives. And when you find those music venues and those scenes and those bands that connect with you, it makes you feel like you have somewhere you belong. So to have those venues taken away from me, it really felt like I was losing something. So that song was my tribute to a lot of venues that didn't make it, and especially now with the COVID-19 pandemic and live music not being able to happen, it feels more poignant than ever because a lot of our favorite venues are at risk. So I just want to kind of raise awareness of that these venues venues need support and give everybody that chance to feel that sense of belonging that I've always felt in the live music scene.
Absolutely. The live music scene has such a huge like community, family, supportive presence. It's lovely. What is it? If you fall down in a mosh pit, someone picks you back up, always. It's such like a beautiful vibe, beautiful saying. I was really surprised to hear that this song is actually a few years old because yeah, as you said, it's so like relevant to nowadays, to what's been happening over the past 12 months, 18 months. Did you
Yeah, I
predict
wish I could.
it?
I hope not.
Swear.
I wish I could say I planned it, but it just kind of worked out that way. But if it helps get people thinking about it, I think that's a good thing.
And what does the name Serengeti actually mean? Because I tried to do a little bit of a Google, but it comes out as like a geographical location in Africa.
That's exactly what it is. And I used the
Okay.
idea of there's a line in the song that goes, Serengeti, I feel a continent away from my local these days. So it was just about feeling distance from a place that's home to you.
I want to talk a little bit about the crazy side of Luke Seymoup, which is very, very characteristic within like your approach to music, whether it's playing live streams like the Get Folk live stream or in your music videos as well. So a few weeks ago, back in October, you played the Get Folk live stream. You were following on from Blake from Molly and the Krells, his set, and you were doing this like stand-up comedy routine. I thought that was hilarious. You were in like a suit. It was very like Jerry Seinfeld. Could you expand on like what was the goal behind that?
Um, I don't know if there ever was a goal, but never let it be said that I don't commit to a bit. So, when we have those live streams, there's always a group chat set up, and I I know we can all relate that if we're in a group chat, there's always one person who's just never always leading the conversation in the wrong direction. And I take some pride in knowing that that's me. So everybody's talking about what they're going to do for their sets. And I said, oh, I'm actually not playing any songs tonight. I'm just going to do stand-up comedy. And then I made a joke about it on my Instagram story with a poll. Should I do stand-up comedy or music? And I got like 10 times as many votes for stand-up comedy as I did for music. And it was like an hour before the set, and I was like, oh, I'm going to come up with some jokes. So, I got in the costume just out of stuff I had around the house and whipped out a couple of, anecdotes from my life that were kind of relevant to the songs or just funny stories. But I think live streams through the pandemic, I did so many of them that I think I felt a bit samey just sitting in front of this backdrop and playing the same songs every time. So the last couple of times I've did it, I've you know, just had fun with it. There was one time I was in here dressed as Fred Durst from Limp Bizkit, um, and just other stuff like that. There's been times I've done entire cover streams of bands, like I did a 2-hour Alkaline Trio live stream. It's just about having fun with it because there's no
Yeah.
rules.
Yeah, you gotta spice it up a little bit from time to time. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Now, from that, have you actually gotten any comedy gigs from that live stream? Has anyone like hired you?
No, not yet.
Not yet.
Let if there are any comedy promoters out there who want to take a chance on an unknown kid, I'm ready. I'm willing. I'll do anything.
Do you usually tell stories within your set? Because I don't know if you've seen, but John Floriani from Trophy Eyes, he has like a little bit of like comedy thrown in between his solo stuff when he plays live.
Yeah, he's great. Um, yeah, I try to relate why I wrote songs back a lot, I guess. Sometimes I'll just talk about something completely unrelated, but I think when you're putting on a show, um, there's only so many times you can say, "How you doing out there tonight? Go check out the merch desk," before the audience doesn't want to hear you talk anymore and wants you to get back to playing the songs. And sometimes you need to catch your breath. So telling jokes and telling stories has been my way of doing that, especially when I've got my band on stage. Because me and my keyboard player, Brenna, um, we've been friends for a really long time, and she'll always kind of encourage my worst instincts with telling jokes. There was one set we played, I think it was at the Grace Darling, where we were just making jokes about slugs between every song. And, the people there loved it, but yeah, it worked.
Yeah, why not? Why not? Slugs. The next show could be like snails, possibly. Go through like all of the insects. Yeah.
I like it. Keep it
Okay,
all in the family.
yeah, exactly. I love that. Love a bit of banter. Okay, Luke, now your song that you released before Serengeti was called Knife, and it's kind of got like this Halloweeny kind of vibe to it. The music video, it's almost like has an old-fashioned kind of feel to it because it's got the black and the white and the like black screen with writing on it, and you're like a Frankenstein sort of person. What is the story behind that song and that music video? Because it is just weird. Sorry.
No, that's fine. Weird is my shtick, like never let it be said that I'm not trying something different. But I love the idea of kind of filtering a serious message through a fun lens. Like I grew up listening to a lot of bands like Ben Folds 5 or They Might Be Giants, Weezer, bands that have very poignant and moving songs, but also have a sense of humor. Um, and that song in particular, Knife, the message behind that song, I suppose, was about trying to be comfortable with the person you're growing into. And again, another one kind of about finding your place in the world and trying to understand that maybe your future isn't how you planned it out. And it has this very dark lyrical theme of the knife. But the music is so upbeat and bright and fun and danceable. So when I was shooting the video, it just happened to coincide that I was releasing a spooky sort of song around Halloween. And again, while I was shooting the video, we were locked down, and you got limited set locations and things like that when you're trying to make music videos in lockdown. The last 4 or 5 videos I've done, I've filmed in my house because, we were locked down in Melbourne for so long, weren't we? So that particular one for Knife, I love weird old black and white horror movies. And while I was making it, I was just thinking it'd be so cool because this is dropping. It dropped, that video came out a little after the single. It dropped the day after Halloween, I think, a day or two after Halloween. Um, and I was thinking, I've been watching horror movies all October. What if I did something that was a bit like, Plan 9 from Outer Space or Night of the Living Dead or something like that. So, I got the green screen out, dressed myself up and cut in a bunch of footage. There's actually footage in that video that I've taken from old horror movies that are in the public domain. And I think I made something that's kind of really weird and kooky and fun, and also still kind of matches the message of that song.
Yeah, it's definitely unique. Very unique music video to what people do now. Yeah. So it definitely stands out in that sort of way. Most busiest man in punk. Very busy.
Yeah, I never want to be that person who has a music video which is just the band standing in a white room playing the song. Yeah.
It's got to have
Not
a
that
bit of
there's anything wrong
character.
with that. It's just not for me.
What was the creation, going back to Serengeti, what was the creation process of it? Because you have a home studio, is that right? I think I saw somewhere.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm sitting in it right
Yeah.
now.
Did you
Great.
self-produce the song?
No, I just tracked it at my house, and I thought these singles that we're releasing at the moment are building towards an album. So we've kind of been chipping away at this really great bunch of songs over a couple of years now. And again, through that lockdown, the last year or so, where we had the two different really long lockdowns in 2020, every time that the lockdown got lifted, I was like, great, somebody come over and track an instrument. And I'd have one day tracking bass with Reese, and I'd be like, come back Thursday. And then the next day, a lockdown would be announced. So it took us a little while to get those songs recorded. But gradually over time, we got everybody's parts done. And because I knew I wanted it to have a really great sound, I sent it up to Daniel Antics at Deaf Wolf Studios in Sydney because I absolutely love his work. He's worked on some records that I absolutely love. He's a very talented musician himself. You know, he plays in the band Nerdlinger. Um, and I just think he was absolutely the right person for the job because he hit it out of the park on that mix and master. And I think those songs sound absolutely spectacular, you know, better than I ever could have dreamed.
Yeah, absolutely. They sound really great. Yeah. What can you tell me about your band, your backing band? Because I find that very interesting because I don't tend to interview a lot of like solo artists.
Uh, you know, they're my three best friends in the world. But I had been in bands before that was like a shared partnership, and I kind of started performing as Luke Seymoup as a bit of a side project. You know, I wanted to put out, you know, acoustic EPs and stuff like that. But then gradually through the course of releasing that solo music, I met this incredible bunch of musicians. Well, Brenna, my keyboard player, we've been playing together in bands for 10 years. Um, and then, you know, but Reese and Marty I met through the band, and we're like a family now. But I think um, they kind of appreciate not having the responsibility of writing the songs or taking on any of the promo responsibilities, like kind of slipping more into that session musician kind of role, because it means that they can, take a back seat and
So put it all on
absolutely,
you.
yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
But what they bring to the band is so good because they're such a high caliber of musician. I grew up listening to punk rock, right? You know, I'm a punk kid through and through. I love a lot of other kinds of music, but that was what I always wanted to play. But you know, those three, Reese is like a funk soul R&B bassist. Marty loves like prog rock and stuff like that. And Brenna, like, she's really into like 70s songwriters like Elton John, Billy Joel, stuff like that. And I think because we've got those diverse sort of influences, um, they bring their own flavors to the table, but because it's still my vision, it doesn't kind of become diluted into, a mess of songs that don't really fit together. I think, the core of the sound is there, but it's only strengthened by those different influences.
You mentioned before, I was going to say, what is next for Luke Seymoup and this project that you're working on? You mentioned that these songs are working towards an album. Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely. It's more or less done, but we're just kind of waiting for the right time to release it. I think honestly, it's the best bunch of songs I've ever put together, and not to spit in the face of anything I've done before, because I'm really proud of the records that I've put out before. But this just feels like a step up in so many ways, and I think it's a collection of songs that while they stand together, while they can stand individually together, the songs are just even stronger because they work together, they flow together, and it's a cohesive vision. The album is called Tales of Suburban Angst, and it's something of a concept record. Like, it's not as a rock opera telling a story, but it's an exploration of maybe the further reaches of Melbourne, because we've heard plenty of songs about Brunswick, about Fitzroy, about Preston, about these central hubs in Melbourne, but who's talking about Mooralbark? Who's talking about Croydon? You know, absolutely nobody. But it's there are stories out there, and I think they need to be explored.
Very nice. Very well said. So you're going deeper into the music scene or further out from the music scene.
Yeah, that's it. It's a journey.
Luke, do you have any final messages you would like to say about your band, about Serengeti, or any messages you want to get out to fans?
I think now is the time to be supporting bands, to be supporting the music scene, because it's been hurting for so long. And I don't want you to necessarily just think about me in this. I want you to think about, if you've got a friend in a band, go see them. If there's a venue you like going to, go to it. And we want to help the music scene in Melbourne and in all of Australia get back on its feet. That's the thing I want people to take from this. You can hear me talk all the time, but really take the time to support the music that you love. There are bands in your city making the music that you like. All you got to do is go out and find them. So I really want people to think about that.
Yeah, some of the best music is like the underground local bands. We have such a strong local scene in Australia. Like we have really great musicians, really great artists.
Absolutely. And there are so many amazing artists that, even with all the great music that gets played on PBS and Triple R and Triple J, there's so much great music that you've probably never heard. And if you take that chance to get out there and go find it, you might find that your favorite band lives in your backyard, and they have all along.
They could be your neighbor. Be so convenient. You'll never have to yell at them to turn off the music. Now, Luke, just a quick follow-up. Are you one of those people with FOMO? Do you go to every single gig or try to? Just buy tickets
I
to
do try
everything?
to.
Yeah, I've got that
Yeah.
problem too.
Yeah. Like I think I have so many musician friends too, that it feels like somebody, well, in a functioning music scene, somebody's playing every week, and I want to be there. I
Mm,
want to support them, and I want to hear those new songs that they're playing, and I want to take
mm.
notes to see, how it stacks up to mine. I'm just kidding.
Take
See if there's any
notes.
guitar chords I can steal,
Mm.
things like that, and just to support my friends. So, I want to be there all the time.
Thank you so much for joining me, Luke. Thank you so much for your time. I will leave links to Luke Seymoup's social media in the description, and also Moody Music links as well to check out my social media. Thank you so much for joining me.
It was an absolute pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me, and I hope I didn't talk too long.